It's hard to fall asleep when you're afraid of being murdered. Maybe when I turn 7, I won't be afraid. It's also hard to sleep with my mom and dad down the hall screaming at each other. Are they saying my name? Is it my fault they're fighting? It's hard to hear because their room is so far away and the door is closed.
Just stop! No, you stop!
I hear something break.
You bitch!
I'm so scared, and I squeeze my eyes tight. I try to put my mom and dad out of my mind because I must protect myself from the murderer that I know is just outside my window. He's there almost every night. To keep him away, I make a magical shield. I tuck all of my sheets tightly around me so none of my body parts are showing except my head. It's really hot and uncomfortable, but I must survive. So far it's working, but I'm still scared because I'm whispering what I always whisper. When you die, you sleep forever. I really think about those words, what each word means, even every letter. When I die, I'm gonna sleep forever. Okay, so I'm gonna die. And then I'm gonna sleep forever. Sleep forever. Forever.
As I'm thinking about just how long forever is, the tears roll down my cheeks.
Am I never gonna wake up? Ever? But I'm going to Disneyland for my birthday next week. My daddy says I actually get to meet Walt Disney. I can't die. I don't want to die. Please, God, don't make me fall asleep. I wake up the next morning relieved that my super-duper sheet shield has worked again. My baby sister Lori is in the kitchen taking the Hostess Twinkies and pink snowballs out of the bottom drawer where our mom keeps them. In the living room, I turn on the TV to watch cartoons. The house is silent, but I know the murderer will be back again tonight. He's always outside my bedroom window, waiting.
Okay, Steve, we're done. That was the best private lesson we've had to date. Have you lost weight?
Huh?
Steve opens the door of the voiceover booth and walks toward me. Not to be nosy, but have you lost weight?
49 pounds. Thanks for noticing.
Oh, God. How could I not? Jesus, I have a hard time trying to lose 5. How are you doing that?
Easy. Thanks to you and this place, I quit drinking.
I thought bartenders weren't supposed to drink.
That's on the job. It has nothing to do with what I was doing after work.
Okay, well, what do you think you were doing today that you haven't been doing in the booth up to this point?
You mean aside from all the other stuff you're always telling me to do?
I think you know what I mean, honey.
Well, I'm finally learning to let go and just be myself. Be me. I think I'm discovering I kind of like myself now. So it's easy.
The Kleenex box is always within arm's reach. I take 2 and pass them to him.
Samantha Paris. No one has ever made me cry. Ever.
Oh, honey.
Look what you're doing to me. I'm crying and I love it. I fucking love it.
Well, listen, you keep crying. Just keep letting go and embracing who you are because who you are is exquisite. Oh, come here. Oh. All right, honey, now come on. We got to talk turkey here, though, for a minute because I want to remind you of something. Your growth has been off the charts fantastic, but it's going to get harder now. I mean, you're definitely at a place where if I tell you what to do, you know, how to feel and who you're talking to, etc., you can go there. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be with you when you're auditioning.
You mean I can't put you in my pocket and take you with me?
No, you're so cute. No, for the majority of the time, you're going to be at home with your computer and your microphone and standing in a closet or something. You're going to be directing yourself. That means we have to start working on your self-direction. I'm warning you now, it's not easy, but you'll get it. Just remember, a year ago, you couldn't even act. Hell, you could barely get 2 sentences out without stumbling.
Yeah, I know. My dyslexia was always getting the best of me.
And now look at you. So we got past that hurdle together, and we're going to get through the next. Got it?
Got it, Chief.
Good.
Thanks.
Get out of here. And with that, Steve smiles, turns, and walks away, shutting the studio door behind him. I look at the clock. 12:01. My life is so intensely structured into seconds, minutes, and hours, not to mention days, weeks, and months. As a voiceover performer, I'm told to bring the copy in at 28.5 seconds. Not 28, not 29, 28.5. As a voiceover teacher, I must stay on time with my private lessons. If I have 6 in a row, I can't go over even 5 minutes for each one, or I'll be running 25 minutes late for the last. As a business owner running an incredibly bustling voiceover academy, I am also the keeper of over 50 other instructors' schedules and their time constraints. And speaking of time, which I never have, it's only February, yet I have my entire teaching schedule set in stone for all of 2010. It's nearly impossible for me to be spontaneous. It makes for one rigid Samantha at home, and it's not anything I'm proud of. 12:02. Yikes! My next student is new to me, and it's his first private lesson. He attended my Finding Your Voice lecture, but didn't volunteer to try any of the exercises, and he took one beginning level class at my school that I didn't teach. Nick, hi! Come on in. He gets up from the couch and extends his hand.
Nice to finally be working with you.
And you? I shake his hand and we enter the studio. You know, when I saw your name on my sheet, I giggled. Nick Stratton. It sounds so strong, so tall. You know, like Nick Stratton, Private Eye.
How can a name sound tall?
I don't have the slightest clue, but yours does. And anyway, I'm right. What are you, about 6'3"?
6'5", last I checked.
See? I rest my case. Have a seat.
Thanks.
Okay, so, Nick Stratton, tell me about yourself. What brings you here?
Well, I spent the last decade working my way up the corporate ladder. You know, starting as an executive assistant to one of the most powerful real estate executives in the country. Mm-hmm. I was promoted along the way and finally made my way to being the vice president of a multi-billion-dollar brokerage. You know, I worked incredibly hard, like 60, 80 hours a week. Helped build the company from scratch.
Dude, this is not a corporate job interview.
So my boss held me up to my other colleagues as an example of how they should all be. Well, you can imagine how that went over with my coworkers.
I'm guessing not so good?
Well, I was the shining star, and they knew it. It made for really resentful, jealous feelings. But I persevered.
I'm feeling like a kid listening to the adults in a Charlie Brown cartoon.
So, after a decade of devotion to my vision and earning 6 figures, I reached the top of the mountain.
Whoever says reach the top of the mountain, who is this guy? I resist the urge to stifle a yawn.
My stress level. Huge bank account.
I start dreaming about taking a nap with Linus's blanket.
So I'm living in Mountain View and sitting on my sofa drinking whiskey at 9 a.m.
You're drinking at 9 a.m.?
I was lamenting what had become of my life and wishing that I could...
Whoa, wait a minute. You gotta loosen that tie of yours, honestly. He looks at me funny and checks his collar.
I'm not wearing a tie.
Oy, I can see you're not wearing a tie, but you sound like you are.
Oh, like my name sounds tall?
Well, not exactly. You're so stiff. Honey, relax. I simply wanted you to tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're here. A normal response to this question would have been, well, I've been in the corporate world, real estate to be exact, for a long time, and even though I've been really successful and made a lot of money, I haven't felt fulfilled or happy. I'm here because I've always been interested in this line of work, and I loved performing as a kid.
Who the fuck are you, Samantha Paris?
Nick doesn't actually say this, of course, but the expression on his face does. But I don't care. I pride myself on my honesty, and I know that one day we'll both look back on this conversation and laugh. He will become a successful voice actor, and I will have done my job. That is, if he sticks with this, which at this moment, I'm not so sure about. I'm sure he feels hurt, insulted, or more likely both. Look, I know you're serious about this. When you took the beginning seminar, Al shared with me how you did. He said, the guy's got a lot of voice, and he could tell you were determined to succeed. He admired your drive. Nick nods his head. Tell me a few things you learned in the class.
That this stuff is really hard, and that there's a lot more to it than I thought.
And what else?
That you have to know who you are talking to?
Yes, but I'm sure you learned something even bigger.
That I have to let go and just be me.
As I adjust the mic in the booth, Nick appears to be scanning his script.
You know, you didn't disappoint. I was told you can be tough.
Well, I like to think of it as tough love, with an emphasis on love. And with that, I close the booth door, and Nick's lesson begins. All right, honey. As I work with him, I find myself agreeing with Al's assessment. He's clearly determined to be successful. That's a great quality to have, but it can also get in the way of the learning process. I'm always telling my students that you've got to enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy the process of learning something new. If you're constantly looking down the road, in this case to earning a full-time living doing voiceover, then you're not in the moment, and the journey is going to be harder and take longer. My first impression of Nick is that we're going to be in this for the long haul. But I've also learned to not put too much stock in first impressions, at least not here. Over the years, I have had so many tightly wound types eager to impress on their first lesson. What they all don't realize is that it's ridiculous for them to put so much pressure on themselves. How can they possibly expect to be brilliant at something they've never done before? I have zero expectations about someone's skill level when they first walk in the door. I assume they're going to suck, and anything more than that is shocking. Okay, my new friend, we're done for the day. You can come out of the booth. You did a good job. I can see that Nick's worked up quite a sweat. His button-down collar is wilted. Listen, this was your first private lesson, and you did really well.
Man, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. I can't believe I'm sweating. I was just standing behind a microphone.
That's why they call it voiceover work. We don't refer to it as voiceover play. It'll get easier, I promise, but not for a while. Just do me a favor and keep laughing. Embrace being not so good at something and getting better. I promise you, you will. It's my job to make it happen. I cross over and give him a hug. I'll see you around, okay? I look him right in the eyes. There's a beautiful soul in there that's locked up so tight.
Yep, Miss Paris. I will definitely see you around. This was great. Thanks.
And boom, he's gone.